All right, so the $64,000 question is, does it work, right? Does it do a better job? Can we demonstrate a decline? Part of the problem right now is that this hasn't been being used very long. So we have not much data. And I can't really find a published piece of data in shelters yet. That being said, Barbara Carr has two nice examples. Barbara often doesn't, she does these studies because she wants to work in her own community. She doesn't want to publish it. I always try to publish it, Barbara, because other communities could benefit from your experience. Barbara has two examples that she can show you data that certainly strongly suggest that she saw a fairly dramatic effect in just 1 year in intake from those areas where she did targeted neuter. And then what she was doing was comparing the before they did the targeted spay-neuter to the after in the same areas. Again, I wish that she would publish that, and I'm trying to get Emily to get some of that data, and she's got 1,000 other publications on her desk as well. But the A helped with that, incidentally. The A was involved in doing this, as in Portland, and I don't know if Joyce here, she said she was going to pop back and forth. Joyce was talking to me a little bit about what the A had done in Portland, and in Portland they had 3 control communities and a targeted community. And she said they're not done yet. Haven't quite finished with their assessment there yet. But she said one of the interesting things that they've seen is that all of the areas, the intake in all of the areas have dropped. Control and other. Now, that's one of the problems of doing, you say, oh, this must be easy to study. We can just go back and look at the effects. One of the things, Jim, that we've talked about doing is looking at the effect after we have done this targeted effort. The problem is we already have a decline that's due to something, but that was taking place before we started this targeted spay-neuter. And so how do you distinguish what is happening in the community? And there are lots of factors that could be affecting intake. How do you attribute that effect cleanly to your targeted spay-neuter efforts? It reminded me when Joyce was telling me about the Portland experience of something that happened years ago with an intervention in humans where they had people that they went and they evaluated their cholesterol levels, their blood pressure, and their smoking habits. It got thousands of people, very expensive $1 million study to look at if we intervene and really work with people, can we lower heart disease in these people? If we can, give them smoking counseling, if we can counseling them about diet, if we control their blood pressure with medication and what have you. And it was a randomized trial, pinnacle of our clinical trial. Scientific evidence gathering protocols in the real world. And then they followed these people for years. Guess what they found? So they had an intervention group and a non-intervention group. Sorry, I missed that part of it. So they had an intervention group and a non-intervention. Guess what they found? No difference. But they both went down. And the thought was that by studying them, by bringing them in and doing that they changed their behavior, they made them more aware. And secondly, that at the same time, over that time frame, there was smoking, they had ratcheted up, not they, the investigators, but society had ratcheted up all the messages about improving your health, doing more exercise. And so their results, did it mean that their intervention did no good? I think probably it didn't mean that. It probably meant it did do good, but that that other things were happening. And so I think that's something that's going to happen with these, trying to evaluate the effectiveness of these. Also, remember that we're getting more and more rescue groups, so they may be siphoning off some of the intake. They may be taking some of the intake from this shelter and now doing here. That's why it would be nice to do it at a community level. It would be nice to get collaboration and do it at the community level. Lynn?
One thing we noticed, Dr. Scarlett, is like in Alabama's Big Fix, which Mary's been funding, because there's so much advertising and so much going on with the project, that it influences other people that have been thinking about getting their animals spayed or neutered. And they see this all going on, and so it increases across the board. Yeah. It's not necessarily that it happened before the project started, but it's because of the project.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're ever going to separate that, but it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's definitely good. It's just that people then people who are naysayers point to the study and say, you didn't find an effect.
Right.
You know? And it's, yeah, but it's still a good thing. So I just bring that. I don't think that's going to happen in every. Like I say, Barbara has some pretty convincing data that would suggest that she really could demonstrate an effect. But these things aren't. I just caution you that these things are not easy to study. There's lots of things that can affect why your intake may be going down. Okay. Yes. Beth?
Couldn't we at least study those targeted areas?
Well, yeah. The problem, you know, from a study, yes. I mean. The problem from a study design standpoint is that you get a relatively small sample size. You know, you've got 2 or 3 households there. You can demonstrate they aren't contributing, but it's really important to say, has the intake at the shelter gone down, if that's the goal? Yeah, I mean, I'm not, you know, I think that I'm not arguing that it's not doing good and that you can't demonstrate it perhaps in those areas. Yeah, it doesn't mean it hasn't moved to another area. That's right. That's right. Or that 2 years from now it won't be the same in that area. So this is a long-term process. You can't just do this once and then walk away. You've got to stay on top of it. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to make the point that we're already going down, and this has already gone down. So we'll have to see. I mean, I'd like to see it really go down. We'd have to look at the different rate at which it declines, but whether we'll have enough data to really be able to demonstrate that statistically, I don't know. All right, so is this possible in your shelter? Because you say, oh, this is fine and good. This sounds great, but I can't do that. We can't do that. And I'd like to suggest to you that in many cases, some of you can do it. And now, what I think the big stumbling block may be is finding this GIS technician. But it's amazing how many people know GIS. Yeah, I was going to say, so we've got one in the community, you know, one right here. Oh, she lives in Pennsylvania, but but the point is that I think you might find it among your volunteer staff. For those of you who are if any of you are at a municipal shelter, many cities have GIS technicians, not to do this, obviously, but they're working with the city planning and all. And I was talking with a group from Austin, Texas, who said, you know what, we have those people on our municipal, they were with the animal control, which was controlled by the city. We could potentially use those people, and it might save the city money, because if the intake goes down, then they save money. Argue back to the government, if we could take some of your time of your GIS technician, and they're very good at this. I mean, they take less time to do this, then, you know, maybe you could actually save some money, and, you know, money talks. So looking for, universities often have people who are proficient in GIS, city planners, even going in and making a plea to some of the GIS technicians that your city employs and saying, would you be willing to do this gratis or at some reduced fee? So I think that it's very doable. Now, the thing is, you got to have good information to give them. So if you're doing a sloppy job at the intake desk of entering that information, and you're not doing it completely and accurately, this will not work for you. So it requires good data. Bert?
Jen, on that note, I think probably all of us think we're doing not a sloppy job. I probably think we're doing a good job. Some of the specific things that we run into is there's an address for every animal that comes in, but lo and behold, when you dig into it a little bit, a lot of the strays come in and the address listed is the shelter address, or the address listed is where the person lives who brought the animal in, but
That's right.
not the street address where the animal was picked up.
Found.
Officers often will list a street, but not a street address when they bring the animal in. And so it's that precision in where exactly did this animal
Come from.
did you lift his feet off the ground? And
Right.
that's the piece.
Right.
And there's no going back and cleaning that up.
No, I agree with you. So if you have owned animals, you want to be sure that this isn't the son of the mother who lives someplace else. So you want to be sure among owned animals that the animal, that you collect the address where the animal originated. And then for stray animals, Bert is absolutely right. You need to do exactly what Bert was saying. And they can use coordinated. I mean, so at the corner of Blake and White Street, or very close to the corner of Blake and White Street, we found this cat. And so if you can even push people to do, and you could even have a map of your community on the front desk and have people point out, because they might not know the names. Oh, I know where it is, but I can't remember the name. I'm doing that all the time, even more as I get older. Well, it's that street that, goes by the big red building. But they might be able to locate it there. So if you're really serious about doing it, and I really think this is going to be a very powerful tool, and so I really encourage you to think about doing it. So this kind of anticipates a little bit, because the A, and please go to this site, the A has put together a number of resources for shelters. And first of all, there's a little quiz. Are you ready for GIS? So you can sit down and answer the questions for that. There is a checklist, sort of like, are you ready for, it's kind of a repeat of this, only a little bit more extensive. And then it actually talks to and gives you very clear information about what information you need to collect. And I said addresses. Really, to be maximally effective, you want to have source of animal, that is owner surrendered, transfer in, because obviously you've got transfers in, you're going to get animals from out of your particular community right there. Age, so that you can get the kitten, puppy, adult animal. You certainly want to, you might want to get gender. The very basic demographic features of these animals, especially those that might play into preventive measures. And there's I haven't gone, that's not an exhaustive list that I just gave you. It's all in here. And then if you're really adverse to doing the reading, there's an online webinar that kind of directs you. And so it's very nice. The A has done a lovely job of putting that information together.